I'm Todd Dybus with the Tacoma News Tribune. I'm here with Lindsey Thiry of Fox Sports and Scout.com. She's the USC beat writer down there for them. Hi, Lindsey. How are you?
Good. How are you this afternoon?
Good, thanks. Thanks for hopping on here with us. So we're going to talk USC Washington heading into this week. Let's start with a local guy for us, Zach Banner. He's redshirting this year. What's USC's approach with him? What have you seen from him in camp, and how are they handling the big guy?
Yeah, Zach got down here late into the summer, so we started out at summer workouts, and I think that was probably a really good jump start for him into his college career. He got a lot of one-on-one time with some of the older linemen, just working a lot on footwork, handwork, and throughout fall camp, it was kind of probably a an eye-opening, I should say, an eye-opening experience for Zach to jump up to the college level. He doesn't get as many reps, obviously, now that the season started, but through fall camp, you could definitely see his progression, where he needs to get better. Kind of a little bit notable for his size. He manhandled by a few of the D tackles for the Trojans. I think one day at practice he was actually body slammed. But it really just had a matter to do with his feet and not being able to get the leverage and get the pad leverage that the D tackles had on him. So like he said, we caught up with him yesterday just because he is traveling this week. He's going back to Seattle. Kiffin threw a bone, said you can go, we'll take you home. And so, Zach said that he's really been in the weight room working hard. He's down, I think he said he was at 346 pounds when he got to campus. He's down at 325 pounds, and, obviously that's going to make him quicker on his feet. And he's just working on his body this season, working on his technique, because, when you're redshirting, there's not much else you can do, right?
Right, for sure. Yeah, and Washington fans will look at that as kind of a luxury for USC because in theory, if he was here, he would be starting because they've had so many injuries on the offensive line up here. But it's interesting that USC has been able to redshirt him and give him that time to work on his technique and work on his body, which obviously will make him better off in the long and them better off in the long run as well.
Yeah, you just can't coach a body that's his size. I mean, he's obviously 6'7", 325 pounds now, and you just can't teach that. But I think in order for him to be a starting offensive lineman at SC, he's got a ways to go, and hopefully in this year for him, he can kind of make the jump from a high school player to being able to really compete at the college level.
And there are two guys down there who are competing at the college level very, very well. That's Woods and Lee, the receivers. Those guys are such a problem. I talked to different coaches this week heading into this game about they run routes well. They're fast. They know what they're doing. The SC offense hides them a lot of times. What have you seen from those guys? And it seems, Lee's kind of the superior one this year, where it was kind of the opposite last year, and they're both obviously a large issue for any opponent.
Well, and that's the thing is that their numbers, both of them are a little bit down this year, Robert especially. And as Lane continues to emphasize to us, it's because they go out on Saturdays and they see defenses that they've never seen from these teams before. Teams are coming up with brand new schemes just to throw at the Trojans, just to try and eliminate, as Lane says, 9-2. So Robert especially, you haven't seen as much. Robert also, his numbers are down this year because he doesn't practice every day that the team's out there. He gets a day off because of his ankle. He says he's 100%, but they still give him that day of rest. Marquise Lee is an unbelievable talent. I mean, he's so good at doing what he does. They're talking about letting him play on the defensive side of the ball now. He's trying to convince his coaches he can play defense too. This last game, he had a few big drops earlier in the season when Barkley went deep to him. This last game versus Utah, he finally, was able to get there, make the catch, and explode for a huge play. And that's kind of a turning point, it seems, in their season is Marquise making that play. But those two are unstoppable, and if you do try and stop them, then the Trojans have that backup plan to go to their run game, which we saw versus Cal.
And so there was a stumble early in the year for USC after so many people anticipated that they were going to be a national title contender, and depending on how things progress, they could still get there through this convoluted system we have in college football. But the game against Stanford, the loss against Stanford, how do you feel like they dealt with that and have moved past that, since that was such an early blow to everything around them?
Yeah, immediately that was a devastating blow to go into the post game press conference and literally these guys look like they just lost their closest family member. That's how upset they were. I mean, one word answers if they even answered the question. So for them to be able to turn around that following week and go out and get a win, and then to find themselves down by 2 touchdowns at Utah within the first 3 minutes of the game, they've really decided after that Stanford game to step it up and to get going. And it would have probably been easy after seeing their reactions to watch them just go in the tank. You know, Matt could have lost the Heisman Trophy there. The national championship just became a big reach. But a lot like last season when they had the road loss to Arizona State this season, it really seems like they've taken that and they've come out refreshed to practice for the last 3 weeks. And it's been a different team since that loss. Coming into the season, they were the preseason number 2 team. You know, they like to say they weren't buying into the hype, but somewhere, I mean, you're going to buy into the hype. If you're being told how great you are and that you're the favorite, at some point in your head, you might start to believe it. And it seems kind of just a complete adjustment in their preparation since that loss.
And so now when you look at the SC defense, everybody talks about Barkley and those 2 receivers that we've already touched on. When you look at the Trojans defense, what are you seeing out there this year? That was kind of, as much as the long quarterback legacy there is obvious, their defense has always been a ferocious one. And what are you seeing from those guys this year?
Their defense is strong. Coming into the season, once again, they thought their defensive line would be their weakness. It's probably one of their strengths. They've had a ton of injuries, but they've also had a ton of guys step up. The biggest surprise for the Trojans this season has to be Morgan Breslin, one of their defensive ends. I mean, I'm sure the Huskies are doing plenty to game plan away from him. He is just a monster. If he's not putting pressure on the quarterback, he's sacking the quarterback. And he's putting so much pressure on that the other guys are making plays. I mean, he's forcing quarterbacks to make a lot of throws that the secondary is able to eat up and get some picks on. Their weakness right now, by far, is their second cornerback's position, opposite of Nickel Roby. Lane's been transitioning between Torrin Harris and then a freshman, Kevon Seymour, and those 2 guys just seem to be getting beat over their head. And pretty much anytime there's a touchdown pass against the Trojan, it's to that second corner position. So that's right now they're experimenting this week to try and find a solution. And if there's a weakness that can be exposed, that's definitely it.
Interesting. We'll see what the Huskies' plan is against that weak spot in SC defense on Saturday. And lastly, Coach Lane Kiffin, he had an interesting pass before getting SC, and then he's kind of accentuated that with a few notable moments this year, in particular the 29-second press conference.
28
seconds. I'm sorry.
Somebody's adding that extra second. It was 28.
Gave him an extra second there. And just the injury policy stuff that we've all dealt with, including us up here in Seattle. How would you describe Coach Kiffin interaction with the media? Do you think he's possibly misunderstood or misrepresented? And, you know, a lot of people from afar, it's easy to make a judgment, but you see him all the time. What's your take?
Yeah, you know what? We see him every day, and obviously everybody has their good days and everybody has their bad days. He unfortunately has to address us on both. And I think, you know, there's been a few articles that have come out about Lane and why he decided to put that injury policy in place. And it's kind of hard to argue with him because if Washington's not doing it, if Oregon's not doing it, you know, he needs to give his team the best opportunity to win. And, you know, he's not Pete Carroll. He's Lane Kiffin, and he has the right to do things his way. And, you know, I personally don't think he's asking too much. It makes our job tougher to report on practice and whatnot. But, you know, it kind of, as he would say, it is what it is. And, you know, if Washington's not telling him who's not playing, why should he tell Washington who's playing? And, you know, the 28-second press conference, should he have handled it differently? Absolutely. Like, you're a grown-up. You probably should just, like, use your words, say no comment. If he says no comment, we all move on with the next question, and it's not a big deal. Instead, my YouTube channel has, you know, 140,000 hits on it to have everyone watching Lane make a big deal out of it. But, you know, on a day-to-day basis, he's nice. He comes over, he answers questions. He does his job in a friendly manner. He throws plenty of jokes our way. So, you know, does he have a little growing up to do? Maybe, who am I to say that? But so far, nothing but pleasant other than 28-second day from Lane at USC.
And kind of put you on the spot here, do you have a pick for Saturday?
Well, I think that if it's raining, which the forecast says it's raining, if it's raining and if the Huskies play their absolute A game, and if USC shows up and makes a blunder like they did to start Utah, I don't know why the Huskies wouldn't be able to have the upset at home. But I think at this point, after the loss at Stanford, I think the Trojans are rolling, and I'm not going to predict a score, but I have to predict an SC win.
All right, fair enough. All right, Lindsey, thanks for your time. We really appreciate it, and we will see you on Saturday.
Thank you.